Well, welcome everybody to our toy chat again. Little glitch to get started, but thanks for everyone's patience. And tonight we're going to welcome Jason Bengough, who's going to share his story on Allis Chalmers 1/16 scale tractors. And I think most of us have known Jason for many years. He started coming to the Ontario Toy Show as a young toddler, and we've seen him every year since, I think. And so he is a well-known collector in the Gleaner, Combine, and the Allis Chalmers brands. So I know he's been working hard on preparing this presentation for us. So I'm going to share my slides now, Jason, and we'll just ask you to carry on, and I'll change the slides whenever necessary.
Okay, thanks very much, Doug. A little bit about myself. As Doug said, I'm Jason Bengough. I'm from Hensel, Ontario, Canada. I grew up in Hensel, and Hyde Brothers Farm Equipment was the Allis Chalmers dealership in town for over 75 years. They're still in business today, selling ACO and Gleaner products. Allis was a strong brand in our area. They sold lots of Gleaner combines and lots of Allis Chalmers tractors. And I've been collecting, I've started collecting back in 1994. Started at the Ontario Woodstock Farm Toy Show, and I bought my first toy Gleaner over there, an N6 small lettered decals, which I still have. And so that's about myself, and we'll continue on with the series. Interesting Allis Chalmers facts. Allis Chalmers was an industrial giant, like International Harvester. Allis Chalmers had their hands in a bunch of different things. Farm equipment was only one division. They had the energy division, they had the electrical division, and they had the construction equipment division. And after the buyout in 1985, Allis Chalmers actually continued on and had offices in West Allis until 1999 under the energy division. Farm equipment was built from 1914 to 1985. The last tractor that came off the line at West Allis was the model 7060, December 6th, 1985, which will be a sad day in history for the Allis Chalmers brand. It was a huge history, and it's a little emotional because of what went into their product line back then. They acquired several companies while building farm equipment. That includes Advanced Rumley and Oil Pole. In 1955, they acquired the Gleaner Harvester Corporation. That started back in 1923, but at a later date we'll talk about that. Several industry firsts were brought to the ag market, including the first turbocharged tractor, D21, rubber tires. They had their own quick hitch, the snap coupler quick hitch, which was on the WD and the WD-45 line of tractors. And okay, next slide, Doug. I'll just briefly talk about the arcade and product miniature 1/16 tractors. The one on the left there is a product miniature Allis Chalmers. I believe it's a WC or a WD style. They never put the model number on it. I've seen a couple of them at auctions. They're harder to find. I believe they were 1950s, I believe. Same with, and then the other pictures, two of the arcade tractors, which were cast iron. Next slide, Doug. These are a couple examples of some arcade tractors. The one was an arcade, was orange with a dumper, and the one that was red and green was another example of an arcade toy that they made with Allis Chalmers. They're all die cast or cast iron. Next one, Doug. Here's another example of some more arcade tractors. One's a blue, one is painted blue, and one is painted to almost in Massey Harris colors, almost yellow and red, which was interesting that these came in these colors instead of the Allis Chalmers orange. From a distance, you wouldn't think it was Allis Chalmers until you looked up close to them. On the side of the frame there, you can see where it's cast in Allis Chalmers at the bottom of the frame. on the blue one, and the Allis Chalmers name on the red one is up on the hood. Next one, Doug. There's another example of a red one, another arcade, a red one, and a green one. And one's got, okay, go ahead again, Doug. These ones here, Allis Chalmers tractors by Pioneer Collectibles. They were very highly detailed tractors. The one there on the right was an Allis Chalmers B wide front end, and it was believed they also made that one for the Toy Tractor Times and made that one a variation. And the other one was Green County Days show tractor with the narrow front end, Pioneer Collectibles. They're kind of fragile. I've seen them at shows and I've seen parts come off of them, so you got to be careful when you're handling them. Next one, Doug. Some of the Spec-Cast tractors, these are just some examples. This was an Allis Chalmers A, two different variations of the Allis Chalmers A tractor that they produced. These were actually Liberty Classic ones that later merged with Spec-Cast, but that's an example on rubber tires. Next one, Doug. This one's a Spec-Cast Allis Chalmers D10 that they did. The D10 was the smallest in the D-series line. This is like in the, this would be a Series 1 D10 tractor with the early orange paint scheme decals. They also did a later one with the later decals and the later darker shade of orange as well, with the white wheel rims instead of the orange wheel rims. Okay, next one, Doug. Spec-Cast Allis D12. This was the second series. This is the second biggest model in the D series, or the second smallest in the series. The Allis Chalmers D12 with the later style decals and the white wheel rims. It's a nice little utility tractor, and there's a few of them around, more so than the D10s. D10s are harder to find the real ones than the D12s. Next one, Doug. This was a set of four Allis Chalmers tractors that were produced by Spec-Cast in 1989. They made them D14s and D15s. The ones on the right, the ones that are the earlier orange, or the first Persian orange, are Series 1s, and they were D14s, with one's got the single front tire, and one's got the narrow front tire. The other one's the D15 with the single front tire and with the tricycle front end. At a later date in time, Spec-Cast also produced these tractors where you could buy the tractors individually and not just in the set. This was a set that limited it to 1,000 of them. And next one, Doug. The Canadian International Farm Equipment Show that was held in Toronto, they've done several tractors. They made a whole series starting in 1987 all the way up to around 2013. They chose Allis Chalmers a lot, and the one model they did was the Allis Chalmers D15 in 2009. This is a Series 4 D15. It's high detailed, white wheel rims, wide front end, and very, very high detailed. It's a very nice tractor, and they were priced reasonably, and the detail is pretty nice, die cast and plastic. It's a very nice model to add to your collection. Next one, Doug. This is the D14 that was done in 2013 for the Canadian International Farm Equipment Show. It's the Series 1, I believe it's a Series 1 Allis Chalmers D4, or no, it's a Series 2, my mistake, it's a Series 2. D14 with wide front end. Next one. This one here, this is one of my favorite ones I had in the collection. This is an Allis Chalmers D14. It was made for the Orange Spectacular show in Hutchinson, Minnesota, and it's got a mounted cultivator on the front and the back and a narrow front with a radio on it. It's very high detail, and it's a kind of unique piece. It would have been used for row crop cultivating corn and soybeans back in the 60s and 50s and 60s when it was out. It was very high detailed, and I recommend it to anyone if you're looking to add it to your collection. Next one, Doug. They also did the Spec-Cast Allis Chalmers D14 high crop. The high crop clearance tractor, again, high detailed. Next one. That's the D15 they did, a high crop as well. Next one, Doug. This D15. It was done for the Summer Farm Toy Show in Dyersville, Iowa. This one came with the mounted row crop cultivator on the back on the 3-point hitch instead of the mounted one like the previous slide. It's a highly detailed one again, and it's a nice piece to add to your collection. It's also got the flywheel there where it could run the pulley for the flywheel there where you could run a thrashing machine off of it. You can see it there in the picture. Next one. Spec-Cast also went into, and they did the 170 and 175 Allis Chalmers tractors. These ones weren't quite high detailed like the other ones, but they were made in the early mid 90s. The one is a 170 with ROPS bar, wide front end, and the other one is a 175 with ROPS bar and the canopy on it with a white steering wheel with wide front end. There's limited detail on them, but they're very nice to have in the collection. I've always liked this style of tractor, and again, they were a popular make to have. Next one, Doug. This one here is the Spec-Cast 170. It was done for the Crossroads show. Crossroads show is a show down in the States, and they did a series of tractors, and most of them were this series, the 170s and the 175s and such. This one's got a wide front end ROPS, no canopy, wider front tires, and it's got a weight bracket on the front, and it's supposed to come with weights with it. Mine didn't come with weights, but I looked in the box when I got it and it didn't, but it does have a weight bracket at the front to put weight on it. So it's another nice piece to have, limited detail, but it's a nice tractor if you're into Allis Chalmers collecting. Next one, Doug. There's a 175 with the narrow front end. Again, not that common of a tractor, but it's a unique piece to have. They done other variations of it. I believe they did the 185 with the narrow front with the canopy with ROPS as well. I don't have one, but I've seen one for a show somewhere, but I know there's one that was done as well. Next one, Doug. Spec-Cast Allis Chalmers 180 and 185. Both of these were crossroad show tractors. These ones, 180's got duals with canopy and ROPS, pretty much the same as the 180 that's got duals, canopy and ROPS as well. I've noticed on my 185 here, they had a little problems with zinc rot starting on these models, because I've noticed it starting on the 185 model on spots where it's starting to chip and peel. So I just got to keep an eye on it, but it's either paint quality, but it seems like it's got a little bit of zinc rot in that one, but it's a very nice piece, and I personally, they're some of my favorite pieces I got in the collection. I've always liked the looks of them. They're next slide, Doug. Spec-Cast Allis Chalmers 160. The 160 was the smallest, was not actually built by Allis Chalmers. I believe they were imported by Ertl of France to give them a small tractor in their line. It was a 45 horse tractor, Perkins diesel, I believe they used in them. I got a little bit of connection to the 160, as our town's ice resurfacer used to be a tractor mounted ice resurfacer, and they had it on an Allis Chalmers 160 tractor. This one's a highly sought after piece. I watched one sell in Girard auctions last night, and it went for over 400 US. It's all resin, it's not die cast, and so they're kind of fragile and you got to be careful with them. But again, it's a highly sought after piece, but very nice if you can find one. Next one, Doug. These are just some variations of what they did, Spec-Cast did for the Orange Spectacular show. You see they did the Allis Chalmers IB tractor industrial. They also did it as Orange Ag version as well. The Allis Chalmers high detailed 1/16 RC tractor. It's also resin. All three of these tractors are resin. The third picture on the far right is the Allis Chalmers fuel cell tractor. It was an experimental tractor Allis Chalmers built, and it was all ran on fuel cells. The real tractor is in the Smithsonian in Washington, I believe. I believe that's where the real one is, but they only made one of them. Fuel cells, they decided it wasn't going to be worth it for farming. But as we all know, fuel cells were used on the Apollo missions to put a man on the moon and the Apollo command modules. And next one, Doug. Some more Allis Chalmers Orange Spectacular shows. One is the W Speed Patrol grader with grader Allis Chalmers, and the other one is an Allis Chalmers tractor motor with loader, both very rare versions, Allis Chalmers. These were recent releases. The real tractors are rare that Spec-Cast did for the Orange Spectacular. Next one, Doug. The Allis Chalmers T16 Sugar Babe. It was Allis Chalmers' first attempt at a four-wheel drive tractor. They made them both orange and red for the Orange Spectacular in 1/16. Today, they only think two of the real things exist. I know there's one yellow one that exists, and it was made by the construction division, and it was their attempt to get into the four-wheel drive market to compete against the International and the John Deere 8020. They didn't really make many of them, and the project was canceled. And there's only one fully functional one that I know of, that I've seen pictures of. And I'm not sure if there's any more of the real ones out there, but if they are, it's the holy grail of Allis Chalmers tractors if you can find one, but I've seen one. Next one, Doug. Spec-Cast Pork Expo shows. The Pork Expo show was a show in the States. They had they did different models and different makes for the show. Spec-Cast produced the Allis Chalmers 7060 with the loader. For the Spec-Cast show, it's a high detailed model. Very nice, very nice model to have. And the price reasonably, like it was very well detailed. And the D14, they did that as well for the Pork Expo with a loader. Both versions were also available as a regular shelf model, and that loader on that D14, they did it on several other variations of that D-series castings. Spec-Cast did a lot of variations off that new D-series casting, and there's too many to count, but they did. I believe they also made that Expo one as a gold version, and I think they did the 14 Expo, might have been a gold one too, but I've seen the 7060 as a gold version as well. Next one, Doug. Spec-Cast Allis Chalmers 5000 series. These were done by the Orange Spectacular show as well in Hutchinson, Minnesota. Both these tractors were also resin. So you can see here, the one is a 5040 with a maroon belly, and the black belly, which was the later version. These are resin, but as you can see with the resin, they're so-so. Like the one in the 5050 has a straight exhaust stack, and then the exhaust stack on the maroon belly came out crooked from the casting there, but they're still decent to have. Like these ones weren't built at West Allis. These were imported as well. And I believe they also made the white and Oliver versions off that same tractor as well. I've seen them as well, and I believe they came from Fiat. They were made by Fiat for Allis Chalmers. Next slide, Doug. That's the black belly 5045 tractor. They offered all three tractors as a show tractor for Hutchinson gathering Orange Spectacular show the 1 year. Next, Doug. Spec-Cast Allis Chalmers 6000 series. These are high detailed ones again. Spec-Cast, for whatever reason, they chose to do the later version of the 6000 series. The earlier 6000 series had the black over white decals, which you'll see on the 7000 series coming up. But that is a nice high detailed tractor. That one's a 6060 two-wheel drive. The other one is a 6070 with canopy and ROPS on it. You could get that one with a loader as well. Next one, Doug. Here's a couple more versions. 6080 with a cab, front wheel assist. and rear singles. That one there was an orange spectacular version as well. And the other one, Allis Chalmers 6080 without a cab, is mechanical front wheel drive. It was just a regular release. Again, very high detailed and very nice models to have, and they're reasonably priced. Surprisingly, they're not that expensive. Next one, Doug. These are some scale models, early heritage AC tractors. Back before the Allis Chalmers went to the orange, they were green. So the one there is an oil pull, which was one of the companies Allis Chalmers acquired. And the other one is, I believe, and the other one's an early Allis Chalmers that was painted green as well. A 1014 or an 18, I believe, is what the model was. Next one, Doug. Some early other Spec-Cast scale models tractors. One is an Allis B wide front by Scale Models with a crank on the front, and then another one is an Allis B narrow front, or it's either a B or a CA. I apologize, but they did both. Scale Models did. The Allis B was another popular tractor in Allis Chalmers line, the real one and the toy one. Next one. WC wide front. This one was made by Scale Models. They did it as a wide front and a narrow front on steel. Okay, Doug, next one, please. Some other tractors. One is a U wide front with Scale Models, and the other is a narrow front, which I believe is a WC as well on rubber. Next one, please, Doug. A couple other variations in color. One's a CA with a narrow front. I believe they're the same tractor, one with and without the box. Could be a B, but Scale Models never put the model number on it, so it's hard to say until I look up close to it. Next one, Doug. That's a wide front WD or a WD-45 that Scale Models put out. Next one. Scale Models Allis Chalmers G. These were a unique tractor, real and the toy ones. They had a rear engine in them, and you could mount like a row crop cultivator in between the front and rear axles and a single plow. On them Scale Models, they offered it with or without a plow. And they also did a special bronze model there, as you can see. The one I have, the one there that I have on the right, it had the plow on it, but I had that tractor since I was knee-high to a grain shovel, so I guess the plow got broke when I was carpet farming with it years ago. Next one, Doug. These are some of the Scale Models D17 Allis tractors that were made. Just a few of what were made. The first one, at the closest to you, is a Series 1 Allis Chalmers D17. The earlier Persian orange wheel rims, the grayish style decal. The other one was a Series 2, the Allis Chalmers decal, different style decals, white grill over the black grill on the early version. And the fourth version was the Series 4 D17 with a wide front, different decals again. And all were of another popular tractor in Allis Chalmers lineup. Next one, Doug. A couple of Scale Models 190. 190 was a very popular tractor for Allis Chalmers. Scale Models, of course, did several versions of them. A couple of them were featured tonight. The one is a wide front Allis Chalmers 190, and then there's a special gold edition. I'm not 100% sure the story on the gold one. I think it was an employee release, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Next one, Doug. The Scale Models 190 with the cab. This one is hard to find. Took me several years to find it. They did this one for the 98 summer open house at Scale Models. It had the cab with cab single wheels and single front tires on it, but it's a nice model to have if you can find it. Next one, Doug. That was another version of the 190 they did with duals on the back, with duals, single fronts, no cab, detailed for the Pennsylvania Farm Show in '97. Next one, Doug. This was an Allis Chalmers 190 It was done for the FFA, Iowa FFA with duals in 2005. It's another nice model, and it's another one. Apparently, it's highly sought after. I watched one sell for a high price last night through Gerard's sale. And then they did a 180 for the 2004 Iowa FFA chapter tractor with singles. Another nice model to find if you can find it. Details limit, but nice. Then they did a 185 as well. That's just one version of the 185. They've done several of them. They did one with rear duals on it and the different decals on it. They did one for the PA Farm Show as well, I believe. Next one, Doug. This tractor was interesting. The tractor that never was, the 195. Allis Chalmers only made one prototype, and it was called the 195, but it never made it into production. It ended up becoming the Model 200. But for the Iowa FFA, they made it a 195 tractor to put out, and they had put out because of that one prototype that was shown in one of Norton Swineford's books that he produced. Next one, Doug, please. The 200 tractor was also another popular tractor that was done. Several versions were made. The one on the right was with cab, and then they did another one without cab. Several other variations and farm shows were done as well. Okay, Doug. Scale models, 440 AC tractor. Now this tractor was, again, this was not produced by Allis Chalmers himself. They were still designing the 7580, but at the time they needed a four-wheel drive to compete in the market. So they turned towards Steiger out of Fargo, North Dakota, and they had Steiger produce the 440 for Allis Chalmers. Here you can see scale models did both the white cab, which was the early version, and the later cab with all orange version. Okay, next up. Ertl, Allis Chalmers WD-45 and WC. The one on the left was done for the Canadian International Farm Equipment Show in '89. That was a regular toy with narrow front end. That casting, they've also done it with a wide front end. They've re-released it in recent years. They did several variations off the tooling of that. The WC here on the right, that was done for Ertl's 75th anniversary recently. They also had a bronze chrome chaser, or a special unit they also did as well to mark the anniversary. I'm not sure how many of the bronze chrome ones were made. I think maybe 75 or maybe a bit more. Next one. The Ertl Allis Chalmers D-series, 1960s. These are very, very hard, highly sought after by collectors. They're hard to find. You can see a series 1. You see a series 1 on the right side, and then you got a series 4 on the left side. They're very hard to find, and they're very hard to come by and collectible, all with wide front ends. In mint condition, they bring a good dollar during the auctions, and their collectors want them. The box graphics are pretty nice on them. I kind of wish I had one for my collection, but it's on my list to get someday as one of these original ones into my collection. Next one, Ertl Allis Chalmers D17 re-release. This was a newly tooled one they put out for the National Farm Toy Museum. On the left is the regular version, and on the right is the chrome chaser version, which apparently, I think they made only 40 of the chrome chasers. To tell the chrome chaser from the regular one, they painted the shaft that goes down to the steering linkage black, and they painted some parts on the engine black as well to distinguish it from the regular version. And the grill is also black on it as well because of the orange chrome. You have to look at it really closely to see it in person to see if it's chrome, because it's hard to tell until you get up close to one. I've seen one at Dyersville before, and it's very hard to tell between it and the regular one unless you're looking real closely at it. And that's probably why they changed some of the other parts on the toy to distinguish it from the regular version. the D19, Ertl did several different versions of the the D19 tractor. You can see the Firestone version, which was a high crop version produced. And then you have two more versions here on the right. One was single front tires. That was the National Toy Show tractor. They also produced it with a loader. And then the one on the far is a Minnesota State Fair version with front, single front with rear duals. I've also been told by, I've heard from other collectors that, and I haven't been able to find it, but there's a couple of Ertl D19s out there where the casting is one side. I've been told that one side of the casting on the D19 was a gas engine, and on the other side was a diesel engine. I was told it by a fellow collector in Ontario. I've never seen one, but I believe he's seen it before, but I have never came across that version. But it's one to keep a look on. That there's one out there that's got a diesel engine on one side and gas engine on the same casting. Next one, Doug. There's the one with the loader, done for the Pork Expo show again. He also did it as a regular release in the 90s as well. The only difference between it and the regular release was the box and the Pork Expo logo on the bucket there. Next one, Doug, please. The D21. The D21 was the most powerful tractor in the mid-1960s from Allis Chalmers. It was the first tractor in the ag history or in the market to hit the market with a 100-horse tractor. The D21 Series 1 was released with a little over 107 horsepower, I believe. Not too long after that, they brought out the Series 2 D21, and they turbocharged it and boosted the horsepower up to over 120 horse. And I was told why they did this was because they also brought out the 190 Allis Chalmers around the same time, and an Allis Chalmers 190 could keep up to the D21. And Allis Chalmers didn't want their flagship tractor at the time to be outdone by their smaller tractor, so they boosted the horsepower up on the D21. And you see more of the Series 2 D21s than you do the Series 1s, and they're highly collectible. And tractor pulling fans love them. They'll pull. A lot of guys like pulling with them because they will give a full pull, and they're a very highly sought after tractor, toy, and reel form. Okay, next one, Doug, please. In 2017, the National Farm Toy Show, they released, they also brought out the D21 again. And they did a regular version, and then they threw in 40, I believe it was around 40 orange chrome chasers. But the number of that's got to be verified, but I was told only 40 of these orange chrome ones were made. Here's a picture of the orange chrome one on the right, and then recently they also brought out it with duals for the museum edition in Dyersville, and they also did a gold one for the museum, a chaser for the gold one at the museum as well, with the duals on it off the new tooling. The 190 bar and non-grill tractors. As you can see, they made several different versions of it. The one in the middle picture is one of the first ones, and it had metal rims instead of plastic rims, and it's a highly sought after version because of the metal rims versus plastic rims, and the nice ice cream box there as well. The fenders, later on they changed to the plastic fenders. Plastic wheel rims on it. And then they changed the fenders on the later ones as well. They had the winged fenders to the standard fenders. And they had the bars through the front grille and non-bar grills. And then they did some other changes. The AC logo was different on them. And I believe they also put the XT decal on some of these castings as well. But they're all highly sought after tractors, the early castings as well. Next one, Doug, please. The Model 190 XT was another version Ertl did well off the 190 casting. This one, they put bigger tires on it, a canopy and ROPS, and bigger balloon front tires on it. This one is, the one I have is a restored one, an older restored one, but a mint one new in the box, and the yellow box is worth a lot of monies, and it's highly sought after. It's one of the highly sought after versions. The 190 XT, This was done for the 2017 farm show, or National Farm Toys show. Did a regular version and then a black chrome chase as well. Okay, Doug. The 200, Allis Chalmers, they've done several. They did 4 different variations of the 200 that I know of. They did it with or without the. They did it with or without plastic steering wheels. Some had plastic steering wheels. Some had the metal steering wheels. They did one with the air cleaner and one without the air cleaner. Again, they're highly sought after as well. They're a nice version to have. Next one, Doug. These are some of the pulling tractors they did off the casting. They did one with big tires, and then the bigger tires, and then smaller tires as well for the fans of pulling tractors. Okay, the Allis Chalmers 210. This one was done for the Summer Farm Show in 04 in Dyersville with duals, ROPS, wide front end, and the other one was made for the Drayton Farm Show up in Ontario off of the 220 casting, and they just changed the decals to 210. Next one, Doug, please. That's just another version of the 210 that was put out on singles with ROPS, and it's another one that's highly sought after as well. Like any Allis Chalmers toys, they seem to go up in value as people gather them up for their collections. The 220, they did several versions of this one. You can see the collector's edition with 2-wheel drive with a chrome stack, rear duals. And the other one is the National Farm Toys Show. They did 95 with front wheel assist, rear duals. The real 220s with front wheel assists, they only made under 100 of them. I believe 70, 75 of them were made. They weren't that popular. Most were 2-wheel drive. Okay, Doug. There's some more versions of the 220 with wide front end with dual, just 2 different versions of the 220. Okay, Doug. A couple of different farm sets they did. One was with the 7000 7045 with the plow, the disc, and the wagon. Another one was with the 200 with the plow, manure spreader, disc, and wagon. I believe they also did a set with the 190 as well. I believe they did a set with the 190 as well. I unfortunately wasn't able to get a picture of it, but I believe I've seen the 190 set somewhere. End of the 7000 series, you can see one is a 7030 with no cab with air cleaner. You could get this one with or without air cleaner from Ertl. The other one is the cabbed version with air cleaner and smokestack. This one is a restored one, but an original one is worth a lot of money if you can find one. It's a nice model to have. Next one, Doug. This one was Allis Chalmers 7030, 7050 tractor that was made that had 7030 on one side and had 7050 7030 one side, 7050 on the other side. They guess at the time when they were coming off the line at the factory, they decided to use what decals they had and just put 7030 on one side and whatever they had on the other side. And it's a unique version to have 2 different model numbers on the same tractor. Next one, Doug. This was an Allis Chalmers 7030 done for the Toy Tractor Times 2003. It's got wide row crop duals on it. They put the black, early 7030s and 7050s had black, part of the black mask is what they called it, on the front of the cabs on the first series of tractors. And Jason Hazard decided to choose that feature to offer on the 7030 2003. They were Allis Chalmers 7040. You could get it with or without air cleaner. And next one, Doug. That's a 7050 with or without 7050. Both were maroon belly. 2 different pictures of the 7050. Next one, Doug. That's a 7060 with or without air cleaner. The one with air cleaner is harder to find than the one without air cleaner. And the one with air cleaner, I believe they also sold it in the 7050 boxes as well. I've seen 7060s and 7050 maroon belly boxes. So if you come across one, tractor might say 7060 in the box, but the box might say 7050 on it. Next one, this one, I've only seen one of these, And this is a 7060 maroon belly that's got the small front tires on it, like the open station 7030 and 7040s that were done with cab and air cleaner. I only know of one collector in the States that's got one, and they're very hard to find like this variation. And I don't know how many were made like this, but it's got the smaller front tires instead of the bigger balloon tires that came standard on them. Next one, here's the black belly 7060. The first one closest to you is a regular version, and the other one in the box, they were using up spare parts at the Ertl plant, and they put a maroon belly cab on a 7060 with the black chassis. When they brought out the black belly 7000 series, they changed the cabs, and they got rid of that indent at the front of the cab. So that one's a hard to find variation of when Ertl was using up parts to use them up. Next one, Doug. That's another version, and I was told, I've never actually came across this one, but I found a picture of this one in the book and I had to share it. It's a 7060 with duals, and I've known they've made 7080s, but this one's 7060. And I suspect if they're out there and you find one new in the box, I suspect it's like the 7050s, the 7060s that came in 7050 boxes, that these were probably sold in 7080 boxes with 7060 decals on it. Because I don't know how many were made. I've never actually seen one until came across this picture. But I suspect they were sold in 7080 boxes, but Tractor said 7060. So if you're looking around toy shows, Allis Chalmers 7080 black belly. They did it with the one is the National Farm Toy Show, and then the one's the regular National Farm Toy Show, and then the regular version. Only difference was the engravings and the casting and the sticker on the tractor. Okay, Doug. That was a 7045. They did it with an open station. That was the early 70s, 80s model. 7045 in the background was from the 1990s, 2000s. That's the 2000T Toy Tractor Times 7045. Next one, Doug. That's just the re-release of the 7060 that came out in the 90s, 2000s that they had done. Next one, Doug. They made the 7080 again for the National Summer Toy Show in Dyersville. New tool casting with triple rear tires on it. And that's okay, next one, Doug. Ertl Allis Chalmers 7000 and 7010. 7000, that's the only version of the 7000 that was made. Black belly, and it was produced for the Canadian International Farm Show in Toronto, and it's highly sought after by collectors. It's more common up here, but guys in the States are always on the lookout for it. The 7010, that was the 99 Farm Show version, pretty much the same as the Toronto Farm Show version, other than the decal. Next one, Doug, please. The Allis Chalmers 440, Toy Farmer brought this out in 2017 off of Steiger casting. It's very highly detailed. Cab doors opens, and I highly recommend it. It's a very nice model. Next one, Doug. Allis Chalmers 8000 series. These were the Reno collector's editions from the launch when they held them. They're a special collector's edition that's engraved in the casting. One's an 8030 with two-wheel drive, and the other is the 8010 with front wheel assist and rear singles. Next one, Doug. This is the other 8000 series. Left picture is the regular 8010 and the regular 8030 that were just the shelf models, and on the right is the 8070 that was done for the National Farm Toy Museum in 1992. Next one, Doug. A couple of the lawn and garden ones that were produced. One's a B12 with more deck and blade. The other one was with the cart and blade, no more deck. Next one. A couple of other ones, the 300 series lawn and garden tractors. One with a yellow box, no wagon or blade, and the other one's got the wagon, blade, and tractor and blade. Next one. The Precision Classic series, these are the highly detailed ones that Ertl brought out in the 90s. They came out with the WD with the narrow front, WD-45 with the narrow front, WD-45 with the wide front, D-17 narrow front, and then they did a special 2003 50th anniversary WD-45 as well. One of them is the gas version and one is the diesel version, and they also did it, the D-17 precision mounted with the new idea corn picker on it as well. Next one, Doug. That was the Allis Chalmers WC. That was another precision that was produced in the series on steel, and that was all the Allis Chalmers precision models Ertl had produced. Okay, Doug, next one, please. That's just the gold version of the WD-45 50th anniversary random chaser units. I believe there was only 50 of them made. Okay, next, please, Doug. These are just some of the custom tractors I have in my collection. The one is a 7060 with half cab canopy. And the other one, they took the new style 7060 and put 7020 decals on it. And just touched it up a little bit because Ertl's never done the 7020 in toy. Next one, Doug. That was the D21 custom. A guy had put a cab on it, Series 2, and then another guy with a 210 with cab on it with duals. Another custom toy that was produced. This one was a 7060 again with the half cab that was produced, and these are mostly sold down in the southern states. Probably, or we didn't need the cab and everything, but it's a unique variation to have. These ones here were built by Brett Neighbor out of Iowa. He's built all the series of the four-wheel drives. These are true Allis Chalmers built from scratch four-wheel drives. He's done the maroon belly on the left and the black belly on the right. They're very nicely done. He scratch built the body for them and used Ertl parts for them, but they're very nice to have. Next one, that's the 8550 he produced, Brett Neighbor produced. Next one, the 220, the Allis four-wheel drive 220. Not many of the real tractors were built. They only built under 200 of the real tractors, and they limited production to them because the Allis 8070 was outperforming it in the fields and sales, so they dropped it because of the sales of 8070 were surpassing it. Next one, and that's the last one he did, was the Neighbor AC four-wheel drive 305 tractor. That was the biggest one they produced, an Allis Chalmers at over 300 horsepower. These are some of the couple of books I used from presentations. And then next one, Doug. Just some special thanks to several pictures I had to borrow from the presentation tonight on Allis Chalmers farm toys. And that's about it, Doug.
Well, that's great, Jason. Thank you so much for all the work you did to create that presentation and gather the photos. And it's obvious that you have a deep knowledge and experience with the Allis Chalmers line. So wondering if anybody has any questions. If so, just push your space bar and that'll toggle your microphone on, and go ahead and ask your questions.
Just a comment. I have in my collection a Franklin Mint WC on rubber with this 1/12 scale.
Okay. They're very nice. They're a very highly detailed and nice tractor to have as well. I've seen them around as well. I haven't had my hands on one. I've been seeing them around. They're a nice tractor to have. They're highly detailed. They're very nice. They're a very nice tractor.
Yeah, not too many 1/12 scale tractors out there.
No. And Scale Models, I didn't put them in my presentation, but Scale Models also did a couple of 1/8 scale Allis Chalmers tractors as well. WD-45, I believe, or it's a WC or something, but I've seen them in 1/8 scale as well.
Jason, do you know how many ways the 8010 were decaled?
The 8010 was decaled as, they did it as the regular version with front wheel assist and rear singles, and then they did the Reno version with the silver AC logo on the tractor. And then they also, yeah, they did it with Deutz version. They did it with the Deutz versions as well. The Deutz 8010, and they did it with the 8030 as well. After the buyout, they produced them as well. Interestingly, they never did an 8050. They made all 4 models in that. They made 3 of the 4 models in that series, but they never did the 8050, which I find is unique. And the same with the 7000 series. They never did a 7080 maroon belly, or they never did the 7040 maroon belly with cab, or a 7000 maroon belly. If you see them out there, they'll be custom done.
Doug, I've got a couple of photographs guys might be interested in from the Kentucky Farm Show 2003. I don't know if I'm able to share them or not.
Sure, try.
These were, I think most of the stuff was scratch built or hand built, and the guy had a lot of clear plastic things, and there was one WD that was totally transparent that you could see the pistons and everything, and I thought it was kind of a neat model.
That looks like Everett Weber's display, is it?
I don't know. There was a lot of different model. There was a lot of Allis stuff and Minneapolis Moline. There was a Minneapolis Moline Uni Harvester, a complete there, but they had a lot of Allis stuff. I thought it was
He used to come up and display at our Ontario toy show years ago. Often he got so big with his display, we put him up in the lobby for a few years.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, Doug. He had a very impressive display when he brought them up there. And I remember seeing the all-crop combine factory that he made and was in the museum down in Dyersville. That's very impressive. And he made an N7 Gleaner in over 1/16 scale. It's still there. That's very impressive to see in person as well.
Jason, you were talking about the D17 by Ertl that supposedly was a gas diesel model.
Yeah, it was D19, I believe it was.
D19, maybe I misspoke. That's right. They do exist. I actually, through the part shop years ago, we had a case of them.
A case of them?
Yeah, we were selling the collectors, and then we'd ordered the shelf version ones, and we actually got a case. And so they do exist. We sold them in a hurry. We first sold them without knowing the mistake. And so, yes, I have no idea how many are out there. My guess is very few, because you really never hear anybody talk about them, but they do exist. That 160 you talked about, yeah, they were made by Renault in France.
Yeah.
They have a 3-cylinder Perkins in them. And I don't know, you had a nice model of a 7000 with a ROPS. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a real one, but I got my sales book here. If anybody wants to see it, I'll show you. So the one, can you see that?
I can see that. That's very nice there, Doug.
That's, I'll show you the book it's in. So if you ever want to find it, that's the book you're looking for.
Okay, I think I might have to dig through my sales literature. I think I might have that piece.
Yeah, and I didn't hear all your presentation. I know she had the Sugar Babe on there, the T16. Maybe you mentioned this. Are you aware that the orange ones were sold by ag dealers, but the yellow ones were sold by the Allis Chalmers industrial dealers, and they were used quite often in sugarcane fields, and that's why they called that model the Sugar Babe.
Okay, yeah.
And that tractor was based on the actual, and I found that info in the sales literature. That was actually based on the industrial wheel loader that Allis Chalmers had that was also called the T16. And those, for farm tractors, I don't know why, but they had engine and transmission issues.
Yeah, and there's not many of them left. I only know of one full one, but I don't know how many exactly of the real ones that exist, but I know.
I don't know either. They were built 63, 64. I don't know how many they built either.
Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Doug. Any other questions from anybody else before we call it a night?
Jason, you mentioned the 50-40 and 50-50, and I think the 5040 was made by Universal out of Romania, and the 5050 was made by Fiat. They were
Okay.
the same as well, like you said, the same as the White. White sold them since, well, Cockshot started with the 411R back in 1960.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I know when you noticed that back when we were in business that you can always tell the difference in the castings between the Romanian and the Italian tractors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're a nice little tractors. The resin tractors, you got to be careful with the toy ones. I found that with the castings, but they're nice to have in your collection. And thanks for the info on those tractors.
I always thought it was too bad that they didn't do a white version of that. There was a lot of owners out there that would love a tractor like that.
Yeah, that would be nice if they would have done that too.
Another question on the I've got a Teeswater version of a WD-45. I wondered if Jason could tell us how many Teeswater tractors he's seen around. Was it very often that Teeswater put one out? I think it's just a version of the Ertl redone. I don't know if you can see it.
To be honest with you, I've never seen a Teeswater WD-45 before and like that, but I'm not sure how many were produced, but it does look like an Ertl one, but I'd have to say there's not many of them made. But that's a neat piece to see. It's pretty.
I do believe that Bill Ireland took the Ertl tractor and customized it for the Seaforth Toy Show, did he not?
Yeah.
So Hugh, is that look like an Ertl that he's customized?
Yeah, the front end's different on it, right, Frank? Or I mean,
Hugh?
Sorry, Hugh.
It's got a plaque on here
Yeah.
that says something about the Seaforth show, and it's got a sticker on the bottom.
Yeah.
The sticker on the bottom saying that it's one of their customized units, but I don't know whether they put very many out or not. I just wondered if
To be honest, I'm not sure how many were made. That's the first one I've seen that you showed me and showed us tonight in picture of one.
Well, thanks again, Jason, for a very informative presentation. You've obviously, I know, gone to a lot of work to gather the photos and get the PowerPoint done so well. So congratulations and thanks for your efforts in sharing not only the Allis Chalmers knowledge, but also a large portion of your collection. 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to have a very special tour of a collection by Frank Rocks. And some of us have seen a bit of Frank's stuff. His whole house is almost like a toy museum and it's on its own. And he's got them all wonderfully displayed, lots of chrome, lots of gold as well, and some literature and posters to depict the actual tractors that he has replicas of. So we're looking forward to 2 weeks from tonight when Frank will give us a tour. And anybody else wants to share their collection or any toy information they may have, please get in touch with me because we're an open forum here. Everybody's welcome to participate and share what they know or a little bit of their passion with regards to toy collecting. So if there's nothing else, we'll call it a night.